when we see people start to join. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another webinar. We are so happy that you were able to join. We're happy that you are here. My name is Abigail Gonzalez, and I am one of the dietitians here at RPM Logix. I am also the director of the nutrition department. And today we have with us also Tori, who will be presenting. But I would like to, first of all, welcome you to today's webinar on healthy eating and planning. And I just want to remind you that RPM Logix is partnered with your physicians, and we are here to provide services for you. And our mission is to educate, coach, and motivate everyone to live healthier lives. You are all members of our program, which gives you access to the nurses, registered dietitians, and diabetes educators. Let us know how we can help and support you better. You can always speak to your care manager, or you can call or email us if you would like to explore the options that we have available for you, and if you would like to meet with a dietitian on one-on-one. Today, this webinar will be about 30 minutes, and Tori will be presenting the webinar, but you can add your questions in the Q&A box that we have at the bottom of the screen. In the Zoom link, there's one that says Q&A, so you can just click there, type your question, and then at the end, I will be looking at the questions and asking Tori for her to answer them or tell us what are her insights or recommendations. And well, so let me present Tori, who will be presenting the webinar today. Tori has been a dietitian for 12 years, and she has a passion with connecting with clients, and she finds a lot of joy working with all of you to help you develop healthier nutrition habits. She got her bachelor's in nutrition, and then a master's in health promotion. Her philosophy is based on finding methods that work for patients to eat nourishing foods, and to help with making sustainable changes that can prevent or improve any conditions that may be there, like renal, cardiovascular, your heart health, your kidneys. Has also worked with kids and then with older individuals. And yeah, she's also in her family. She has 2 boys, and then she also has 2 cats. And as family, they enjoy sports like soccer, tennis, hiking, and also some video games here and there like Mario Kart. So help me welcome Tori. Then Tori, it's all on you. Tell us what you have to teach us today.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Abigail. And I'm glad you all could join. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you all about a practical guide to meal planning. So we'll go ahead and get started. So our goals for today are an overview, hopefully provide you an overview of what healthy meal planning is, provide you with resources for healthy meal planning. So, help you, how to implement it, understanding the basics of what meal planning is, and hopefully provide you with some simple meal ideas to help you start your meal planning journey if this is something you're not already doing. So before I begin diving into meal planning, I want to talk about maybe why meal planning plays such an important role in our health and lives. And health, of course, is determined by a lot of factors, but I do think good health probably generally starts, in your kitchen or the supermarket or the grocery store or the farmer's market or wherever it is you're purchasing or obtaining your food items. And of course, good health includes a variety of factors, habits, including, your sleep habits, physical activity, mental health, and your socioeconomic status. So meal planning may not fix all these problems, of course, but it can hopefully relieve some stress around that age-old question of what's for dinner? What am I going to do for breakfast today? And of course, continue to work with either your personal dietitian here at RPM or your care team to help improve all these other factors that may be playing a role in your health. So what is meal planning? So meal planning is defined as the action of deciding meals in advance using your schedule, your preferences, what foods you have on hand, seasonal produce, sale items, etc. So that sounds really complicated, but we're gonna break it down and make it a little more simple than that. So meal planning can, it's just starts with, deciding a couple factors first off. So when we think about meal planning, we need to think about how often will you shop? So are you someone that has, a huge empty fridge? You've got a lot of space, you've got a gigantic pantry, or do you only have like a single shelf at your home or a little mini fridge so you need to plan to shop for only a few days at a time? Do you do you only have transportation to the grocery store, once a week, or is it once a month? So will you need to be planning for a month or a week at a time? Um, the next question you kind of need to sit and think about is how often will you cook? So if you're somebody that hates to cook, maybe you're only going to do a full-on cooking meals maybe once or twice a week. And the other days maybe are going to be simpler ideas with some of the stuff that either you're batch cooked or things like that, or maybe meal planning is something you're just starting or thinking about implementing in your life. So, and you're eating out takeout 6, 7 nights a week, maybe you're just going to start realistically setting you a goal of I'm going to start cooking 3 nights a week now. And so, thinking about how often you want to meal plan and do things like that is also important. The next thing you need to think about, how many people will you be cooking for? That can make a big difference in your budget, how much produce and meat and food items you need to get at the store. Okay, so definitely thinking about, if you're only cooking for yourself, it may make it a little bit easier because you only have to consult yourself for, the foods and things that sound good that day. But if you have, a big family to think about, you might need to make some consults there of ideas and things that y'all will want to have for your meals. And then the next thing we need to think about, how many meals are we planning for? When you get great at meal planning and it's something that becomes super easy for you, you may start meal planning for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and your snacks and have it all written out and planned out for you. As you're just starting out, you may just want to say, hey, I'm just going to meal plan for dinner this week. So, just kind of as you're starting to think about it, sit and think what will make the most sense for you. Other things that are going on before or after cooking or around your meal times. So if you're meal planning for your dinners and that week you have social engagements, a lot of times it's important to pull up your, social or, planner calendar for, oh, I have a doctor's appointment that day. I'm not going to eat lunch at home that day. Or I have a soccer game to go to for my kids, grandkids, family members, friends, so I'll need a quick dinner that evening for mealtime. So, really kind of correlating your plan with your planner and social calendar as well. What are the benefits of meal planning? So there's a lot of benefits to be had with planning your meals. So one of the great benefits, of course, is reducing food waste. And that also, in turn, of course, helps us save a little bit of money. And, so because if we use everything and don't let it go bad, which is something I hate to happen for any produce or meats or things I buy in my fridge, it really does save you money in the long run. And it hopefully decreases likelihood of random trips to the store and again saving you money. Because a lot of times if I do have to go buy some extra things because I left something off my list or didn't plan appropriately, I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner. I'm going to stop at the store. You wind up buying, chips or cookies or, a bunch of other random things that you may not have needed or even had in your budget or plan for the week. And hopefully meal planning helps us eat out a little less. And anytime we're eating out a little less, we always will have healthier planned meals, of course. I think we can all agree that we make our worst food choices when we are super hungry or haven't planned a super thing, anything to eat, or, we'll just kind of start ravaging the pantry before we even get to cooking. So, a lot of times if we already have something planned out, we can get started sooner on prepping that meal and maybe reduce kind of that unknown and just ravaging the pantry. And then also it leads to more likely to cook at home, of course, so less eating out and more likely to follow a recommended eating pattern. If you already have a set plan, of what your meals are going to be and what you've bought at the store and you've shopped appropriately, it often help us, follow a better, low sodium diet, a better, low cholesterol diet. It can help you eat more fruits and vegetables, all those things incorporated. And the last, maybe not so important for some people, but I think it's important, is helping. It can help the environment. Eating, there's, research that shows that getting less takeout and reducing food waste, all those things can really help our environment. So, which is important. So, what are some resources that we can think about using when we're starting to think about meal planning? So, all of these resources here, some cost money, some are free. So you could kind of see what might work for you and your lifestyle right now. There's a thing called the Cozy app, which there's a free or paid version, but it's really kind of a resource of a personalized planner, and it's a place where you can save recipes and have everything in your life all there at one spot. It's kind of similar to like having a Google Drive or something like that. There is something called Pinterest. If you're not on Pinterest, it's amazing, but it can also be a little overwhelming. So Pinterest is essentially a virtual pin board. So anything that you find on the internet, any recipe from a blog or recipe from a food website or hairstyles, you can find everything on Pinterest. But so it can be a little overwhelming, but it is a great place to kind of start and save recipes and get ideas and things like that. The other couple I want to mention are emails and Cook Smart, Plan to Eat. Now those have pre-selected recipes for any given week that you can choose from. And then they'll naturally produce a grocery list for you. And with emails, which I've used, I use their free trial. I think it's a great resource because I use their free trial and for I think it's like 14 days, and the grocery list then automatically connects to like your Walmart shopping list. And then you can go in and edit and, choose, oh, I want the store brand item. So get something that's a little cheaper to kind of fit in your budget. But those are all good resources if you're just kind of getting into meal planning and kind of seeing if something like that may make it a little more easier and exciting for you to try out. And again, some of those kind of have some free trials of things you can use. And then last but not least, I think, what could be most beneficial for a lot of people is just a pen and paper. So, and we can share some free templates with you. So something, like this one over here with the grocery list and your recipe, you just write down your recipes. It may help you if there's ones for like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or you may want one that has, breakfast, lunch, and dinner broken down on there. I personally just have like a fridge calendar that has the days of the week up there, and I write down my children's activities for the evening, or if we have something going on, and then I write down, what meals we typically want to have. Sometimes those are, pre-planned recipes that I've selected, or sometimes it's just kind of meal concepts, which is something we're going to talk about. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of water real quick. I've been congested and all the things, all the allergy medicine, all the fun times. So I think, I wanted to briefly cover and mention label reading with meal planning, because I think it's super important when we're at the grocery store. And again, since your health starts at the store or wherever you're getting your food, a couple of things to take note of when you're, looking at labels and shopping at the store. The biggest thing, of course, I think is firstly look at your serving sizes. When you're meal planning and prepping, you'll need to see, is this food item going to adequately feed, 4 people, your whole family, or will it give, just you some leftovers if you're cooking just for yourself? So, taking a glance at the serving sizes. And then, of course, work with your dietitian on as other specific things that you may need to be looking for, your personalized diet and care plan. But, generally I'm telling patients to always look at your sodium. Are there added sugars in these food items? Are we trying to limit saturated fats for, low cholesterol? Are we, trying to get more fiber in our diet, which is important for everybody. Most Americans aren't getting enough fiber. So, really kind of glancing at that food label to be sure that, you're choosing the right food items to set you up for success. Okay. So what does an ideal meal look like when we're thinking about, what we want to prep for the week or what we're going to have for dinner? So the goals of thinking of meals when we are meal planning, ideally, there's two kind of concepts I want patients to keep in mind, and that is either kind of using the MyPlate concept or the Eat the Rainbow concept. How colorful can you make your plate? So with Eating the Rainbow, that typically includes, trying to include vibrant colored plant foods in your diet as much as possible. And really trying to diversify your diet. I think a lot of especially the American diet, it can tend to look pretty beige and plain a lot of times. So anytime we can add a little bit of, pop of color, even if that's just with adding, some peppers or tomato to the meal, or, getting something yellow in at the mealtime, with seasoning with a little bit of lemon or something like that. So anytime we can diversify your diet and try some new things is always good. But of course, if you're just dead set, you don't love some of these white foods, the cauliflower, mushrooms, it's not something that you're just like, nope, I'm never going to eat those. They aren't for me. We'll just start with the plant foods that you do enjoy. Oh, well, maybe, yeah, I really love some of the purple foods, or I love some of I love squash, those kind of things. So, try and, find a way to add those into your mealtime. And ideally, I want, when we're thinking about planning our meals, I want you to focus on nourishment. So what foods are going to provide you good nourishment and meet your nutritional needs, but don't forget the enjoyment. So again, if you don't enjoy mushrooms or cauliflower, you don't have to eat those. But so find some foods that you enjoy that are good for you and trying to get those in your diet. And if you're my patient, you've probably heard me tell you this all the time. Ideally, you want to aim for the 80-20. 80% hitting the mark, doing great, meeting, all your goals, getting all your fruits and veggies in, getting your protein in. 20% fun and enjoyment. So, maybe that 20% of the time is when you're eating out or, having pizza on football night or something once a month, something like that. Okay. So, it's, nobody's perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do your best majority of the time. All right. So, when we talked about meal planning, also maybe just using the MyPlate or the healthy plate idea when you're thinking about what you want your meals to look like. So when we think about that, of course, we want to fill half our plate with non-starchy vegetables, ideally. We want to fill 1/4 of our plate with a healthy protein source, and then fill 1/4 of your plate with a healthy grain or starch. Okay. So when we look at this first little meal right here, uh, our non-starchy vegetables included are going to be like those string beans, green beans, or those beautiful little carrots. I've never seen carrots like that. I don't know where they find them. And then, of course, for their starch choice, they're choosing a more starchy vegetable, corn, which is, great in the summertime, some fresh corn. And then for their protein, they're choosing, it looks like like a baked or grilled chicken. Right down here, the next little meal, we have a more plant-based meal option. So it doesn't always have to include some form of animal protein. Plant-based proteins can truly meet your, nutritional needs as well. So for their starch choice, they have some quinoa. Their protein choice, they did some black beans, and then they have a super colorful, again, kind of incorporating that rainbow meal idea and included, some grilled vegetables, looks like some zucchini, some yellow squash, some maybe, I can't tell if that's peppers or probably grilled peppers, and then some purple onions. So super, we got a lot of colors going on in that plate. It's really pretty. And then I love the idea of, maybe doing something super simple like fish tacos. That's always usually comes together quick meal idea. So again, for their protein, they did some maybe sauteed or baked fish. They have some corn tortillas there as their starch. And then again, a super colorful choice of some vegetables there with some tomatoes and cabbage or the salsa, tomatoes, cabbage mixture. And then again, I just love this. I always tell patients salads are a great way to get plenty of vegetables in. And then, you can always just think of how many vegetables can I add on top of some green leaves, So I think the salad did a pretty good job of adding in, lots of color, lots of additional vegetables. And then, of course, you could always throw you a protein on there, either with some, a plant-based protein with chickpeas, black beans, something like that, or tofu, or you can throw you some fish or baked chicken on there to get you a little more protein. All right, so how to do it? How are we gonna meal prep? How's it gonna work in your lifestyle? So sometimes we may need to, start simple. Set you small goals of, I'm just going to start meal planning for breakfast this week. Or maybe we're going to, swap out healthier ingredients and meals that we already enjoy and kind of are easy for us and, known to us. So maybe for you, that looks like instead of doing brown rice at dinner time, I'm going to do white rice. Or maybe at breakfast time, instead of having eggs on white bread, that's going to be doing a whole grain bread option. Or maybe it's something as simple as, I'm going to stick with my turkey sandwich for lunch every day, but I'm going to add me a side salad in there to get, a more colorful plate. Maybe, some tools or things you can think about for, meal prepping would be batch cooking. So maybe you're going to, batch cook up, your meats on a Sunday evening, or you're going to batch cook up, some soup, and then you can put it in the freezer. So, whenever you're running short on time, or those nights that are crazy for you, running all over the place, or you get home late from work, that could be a simple thing to, get out of the freezer real quick and then just heat it on up for you. Maybe you need to look up recipes for some one pot meals because you're like, I don't want to spend all night in the kitchen fixing up, or cleaning up 8 different pots and pans, because that's a frustration for you, and you want to get ready for bed, or you have a favorite show you want to get to watch. So maybe that's, just doing a roasting meal, that kind of thing. Or maybe your idea for meal prepping is going to be planning for leftovers. So you can always have something, healthy and pre-planned to take for lunch the next day. And how can we make meal planning something that can also save us a little bit of extra money? So, always shopping with a plan. Buying in bulk can a lot of times help if it's, dried things and pantry food items for sure. Buying the store brand items, of course, can always help you save a little bit more money. Joining the loyalty programs at stores. Buying canned or frozen can, also be something good. So you can always just kind of keep something on hand for, these frozen veggies can quickly come together for a meal. But of course, again, always read those labels for sodium or whatever your particular nutritional needs are going to be. And then another thing that can be budget friendly is considering meat alternatives for protein, because we all know the cost of goods and everything has gone up astronomically lately. So including things like hummus or chickpeas, tuna, peanut butter, tofu, a lot of times those are always going to be a much more affordable protein choice for you. Or doing, dried beans and peas, a lot of times that's always going to be a little cheaper these days than the chicken or the beef and things like that are going to be. So and other ways of, kind of saving money and keeping things budget friendly are going to be trying to buy what's in season. If you're looking for fresh vegetables and it's something that's had to be shipped out from out of the country, it's going to be a little more pricey. Now, if it's something that's in season, it can be grown locally. Sometimes that'll be a little cheaper for you. A lot of times to start meal prepping and meal planning, it helps to just create meal concepts instead of sticking to the strictness of recipes when you're just starting out. And something I did want to mention about like the emails or the Cook Smart, those kind of programs, if you find recipes on there and it calls for, a pork chop, but the side salad or the sides look really good to you, maybe you could go ahead and select that, but you're not a big pork eater. So, just sub that in for, a baked chicken, or you're gonna, air fry some tofu, or you're gonna eat some salmon with it. So, even though it may call for those certain things, you can always alter your grocery list and fix the meals according to your dietary needs and plan. You can control the sodium and fat and cholesterol in your diet so much better than when you're eating out. Um, Another pro tip before you go shopping, have you a snack and bring your list. Or make sure you're going shopping after you've had a meal. It's, I think we make poor choices if we ever go to the grocery store hungry. It's something I try not to do. And if I ever do it, I'm just, I'm kicking myself, because then I'm like, by the time I've checked out, I'm rummaging through the bag for something I can snack on. Another benefit, or something that can save you some time and money, might be ordering your groceries online through the Walmart app or Kroger, whatever Publix, whatever grocery store you use. Because a lot of times then you won't be buying extra things that just kind of looked good when you saw it there on the shelf. And then, of course, always inventorying your kitchen before planning your meals. You may have, oh, well, hey, I've got like 8 things of beans in here I need to be cooking up. So I need to be looking for a lot of bean recipes or bean ideas. So as we're trying to healthily meal plan and maybe, watch the sodium in our diet, there's lots of tools and things that we can use to lower the salt. So using fresh herbs when we roast, and there's a lot of examples there: parsley, cilantro, basil, thyme. Using citrus for dressings and marinades. And you can always, and that would include like your lime, lemon, or orange. And then, of course, using vinegar as dressings, or adding flavor to cooked vegetables. So, like using apple cider vinegar, balsamic, red wine. And I love using rice vinegar and like making almost like a poke bowl at home, something like that. So those are all good tips and ideas of things to use instead of using seasonings that either have a lot of salt in them, or using store-bought dressings, which may be high in fat or sodium. So here, the next few slides are just kind of some simple meal ideas. So things that, may just kind of give you some basis to go off of, when thinking about what you want to have. But of course, consult your dietitian if you need something more specific of, what can I eat for breakfast? And that's good for me, that kind of thing. So maybe your breakfast for the week will look like just doing homemade oatmeal at home, and then throwing some frozen berries that you have in the freezer in a pot with a little bit of cinnamon and vanilla. Maybe you're gonna grab you a Greek yogurt and some berries and some nuts to take to work, because that's quick and easy for you. Or maybe you're gonna batch cook some breakfast burritos with some beans and peppers and onions. And if you're trying to watch your carbs or anything like that, you could look for a lower carb tortilla or something higher in fiber and protein. And you can stick those in the freezer and just have them grab and go ready, so you can do that on a Sunday afternoon if you have time. For lunch ideas, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If a sandwich is something you enjoy, maybe doing it on a sourdough bread that, can provide you some good gut health, or, making sure you throw some lettuce and tomato on top of there. Oh, whoops, sorry, went to dinner. Maybe you're gonna do a jar salad. And I'm gonna show you some ideas of that at the end. Or maybe you're just simply, you got you some packs of low sodium tuna and you're throwing that open face on top of some whole grain bread with some lettuce and tomato. It doesn't have to be big and fancy. Something more fancy would be maybe you've cooked up some grilled chicken the night before and you had some left over, so you're throwing that with some asparagus or broccoli or something like that. Dinner ideas, you can plan to do some baked roasted salmon, throw that on top of some quinoa, have your broccoli as a side. So of course, maybe not quite as colorful as we could go. Maybe you could throw some peppers or something in there. If you feel more adventurous and more like cooking one evening, doing some stuffed peppers is always super tasty. And of course, you wouldn't have to do beef. You could do turkey. You could just do beans and rice would always be a tasty option as well. Maybe you're, something that always comes together really quick and easy for me is doing stir fries. So a lot of times, whatever vegetables I have left in the fridge towards the end of the week, I'm like, well, that goes in a stir fry on top of some rice or noodles, and then I throw some tofu in there with a low sodium sauce on top. So, you don't have to make it big and fancy. Sometimes it's just throwing it together with what's left in your fridge at the end of the week that you didn't use up, and sometimes that's a plan failure, but you have to work with what you got sometimes. And I love fish as an option, either the salmon or tilapia, because they can cook up quick and easy for you too. And then of course this fish has bean and mango salad on top, so really colorful and pretty, and then again getting you some rainbow ideas in there. So what can be kind of some quick time savers for you in the kitchen? We don't want to be spending 2 hours in the kitchen each night. Maybe just buying those, bag salads to keep on hand and throw in some meatless meatballs on top. Or maybe you're going to make you a tuna pasta salad and you don't even want to have time to boil the pasta these days. They have pasta already ready to go for you. You just have to microwave it. Isn't that crazy? Keeping frozen vegetables on hand, I think, is a huge benefit for everybody. Maybe you're going to buy a rotisserie chicken at the store that Sunday, and that's going to go on top of your salad or in with your mixed vegetables and rice that week. Okay, so we don't have to make it complicated. You can buy quick and easy things if cooking long or prepping in the kitchen isn't your forte right now. All right, and so I loved this 10 kitchen tools to save you time, shared by a fellow dietitian. If y'all ever want to look her up, she shares great articles and information. You don't have to spend hours in the kitchen to make a healthy meal. I want everybody to know that. If you want to achieve sustainable weight loss and enjoy the process along the way, it's important to make meal prep as seamless and easy as possible for you, okay? The biggest reason I see people throw in the towel is because they're making the process harder than it has to be. Again, we don't have to. It's fun to find cool new recipes online and things to try, but sometimes they're a little complicated or a little above our skill level. So maybe you need to alter the recipe a little bit. But and you don't have to go out and buy all these kitchen tools right now by any means, but I think they are good things to have on hand, and they're things that again can save you time. I don't know what I did before a garlic press. Chopping little tiny things of garlic was insane, and now I just squeeze it in there and it all comes out chopped. Making sure you have a good quality knife is important if you're going to do any chopping of vegetables, but maybe you just need to buy those pre-chopped vegetables, or do you get you a produce chopper or something like that. Air fryers, instant pots, they may be a little, I don't know if they're gimmicky necessarily, but I think they can definitely save time and also fix you if you're in a bind and you need to cook something quickly. All right. And so I think at the lunchtime meal ideas I shared, maybe you're going to make a salad in a jar, or maybe this can be something that you can take for lunch with you real easily. If you have mason jars on hand at home, they make a good, quick, easy way to do it. And if you've never made a salad in a jar, they can be made days ahead of time and stay fresh as long as you put, your wettest ingredients on the bottom. So you're going to put your dressing on the bottom, anything that may be kind of towards wet. So like here, that would be like your onion, carrots, beans, and then you're going to do your dry ingredients on top. And there's so many, alternatives, or not alternatives, there's so many variations, there we go, that you can use when thinking about making a mason jar salad. So you could do a different one every day if you wanted, or you can, prep you several different salads all at once. But that can be a quick, seamless way that it's already in the fridge, ready to grab and go for you. And when thinking about like breakfast meal prep ideas, I know Abigail and I are both huge promoters of the overnight oats. It's something I love. My kids love it. And especially in the summer when it's so hot and warm, I feel like warm oatmeal just does not sound appealing to me anymore at all. But overnight oats are so tasty, and you can get in, all your fiber. You can get in some good protein. You can get in, some good, fruits and stuff in your diet, and start your day really with a good healthy meal right there that you already made 3 or 4 of them the night before. Maybe you're gonna meal prep a breakfast taco scramble because oatmeal or fruit and stuff is not your thing, so you're going to do something with some more veggies and healthy fat with some avocados. Or maybe you just, I love these little container bento ideas of doing some Greek yogurt and some fruit too. So it doesn't have to be complicated, but you just kind of have to plan out and grocery shop accordingly. So breaking it all down, the steps we're going to take is inventory our kitchen. We're going to choose our resources. So maybe you're going to, use Pinterest, or you're just going to use a piece of paper. We're going to decide what time frame for our planning. Do we need to shop for a week or a month at a time? We're going to make our meal plan. So we're going to decide what we want to eat, and then we're going to go shopping. So don't forget your list. And then lastly, you're going to prep your meals and follow through with it. And as this little otter says, good luck, and I know you can do it.
Well, thank you, Tori, for such a great presentation. I think we all learned a lot. All of those tips are very convenient. And like you're saying, it's starting where you're at and then building from there. And yeah, just applying some of those tips, focusing on the healthy foods that you like. And that's something that I always tell my patients. In order to make any lifestyle sustainable, it is important that you enjoy what you're eating. So focus on those healthy foods that you like and enjoy, add some herbs and spices to enhance the flavor of the foods that you're eating. And then also have an open mind to try things. Sometimes patients say, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. And I ask them, when was the last time that you had that? And they're like, oh, I never had it. So maybe you just haven't tried it versus you don't like it, right? So maybe making a challenge of every week or every 2 weeks, trying something new, something that you think you don't like or something that you don't remember ever eating. And maybe you find your new favorite food in the grocery store and now start to include it into your meal plans and prepping. And well, so we are going to have the recording available for this class. And we are also going to add a couple of resources like templates that you can print for planning and for your grocery lists. If you want the recording, just ask your nurse and we will be happy to send you the link. Another thing that you can do is also if you like the presentation and you're like, well, I would like to review it a little bit more, then you can always join the 7 p.m. session. You can use the same link and you can join that as well. And like I'm saying, if not, just asking for the recording so you can play it at your own time, replay it at your own time, take notes or whatever you want to do. Okay, so like I said, that we are going to have a couple of questions. Let me look at what we have so I can ask them what your questions are. Okay, so here we have one. So it says, are there, for those of us who don't enjoy cooking, are there any healthy meal services low in sodium and low in sugar that you recommend?
So I don't know if you're asking for like a pre-prepared meal type thing.
I think that's what they mean, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So are some options out there as far as like the some of the ones that would still require cooking would be like HelloFresh, or and you can always alter your recipes and choose some that would fit your meal plans. I have to look back at some of the ones. There are resources out there for some that have pre-prepared meals. But even like Home Chef, that if you've never heard of them, they have some that you really just they send you the little tin and everything. You don't even have to have a pan. They send you the tin, you throw everything in and throw it in the oven. So really not a whole lot of cooking involved with that. There's a place called Hungry Root, which also is like an online grocery store essentially, but they have a lot of kind of already like pre-prepared stuff, and they originally started kind of as a plant-based program. But I really enjoyed their recipes, and most of the stuff they have, it literally takes like 10-15 minutes to cook. Like it's super simple and fixed, but they do have some kind of like pre-prepared option as well. So
yeah, there's a couple that I know of, like that some of my patients have tried. Some of my patients that have tried, like for the low sodium, is the Mama's Meal.
Mom's Meal, yep.
That one is a low sodium option. Another one that I've heard is like Factors and Trifecta, those two meal services. And yeah, those ones usually offer, like you can customize and say like low sodium, low carbohydrate, and that sort of thing. And those are very convenient, but unfortunately they're expensive. So something that I recommend my patients to do is to try to keep look at the meals that they send you. Maybe try the ones that you get for the free trial or the discount, And then look at the meals. If you like any of them, recreate them and keep the kind of like the little plate so you know what's like a mindful portion, like what's kind of like for portion control. So I encourage my patients to kind of like keep those plates and then use them to serve your own meals or to prep your own meals. So those are tips that I have to add to Tori's answer.
Yes, great. Thank you. Yeah, I used to have a ton of patients that used the mom meals, and I was like you. I told them to do the same thing, like take pictures or write down what it was so you know what it will look like and what you needed to follow. Yeah.
And then someone else asked something, what if I do not like leftovers or eating food that has been sitting in the fridge for more than a day?
Okay, so that would just mean that you would, need to pre-plan for your meals only one serving, or maybe you need to stick your leftovers in the freezer. So you need to prep something that's going to go well in the freezer. So like, like a casserole or a soup or, something like that, like a red beans and rice or gumbo. Those are things that you can freeze fairly easily. And you don't want, stick salad in the freezer, obviously. So if you don't enjoy, leftovers, you may maybe, have something that you can stick in the freezer. So then it's been a week or two and, oh yeah, this seems kind of new and exciting for you.
Yeah, and another thing is like, well, if you don't like to eat like food that has been sitting in the fridge, maybe the prepping is not something to start with the planning. Like even if when you cannot, like when you say, well, I don't enjoy eating foods or cooking foods in advance, then you can always plan your meals and then prep, kind of like pre-cut the vegetables that you're going to use, marinate the chicken or thaw it or whatever. And that way you will still be saving time because you will know what to eat. Even if it takes you like 15-20 minutes to put it together or like an hour to cook it, at least you know what you want to make and the time that you need to prepare it before you eat. Yeah. And here's another one, great one that says, I think sometimes it's cheaper to buy a meal from a restaurant than to buy groceries, cook and clean at home. So do you have recommendations for healthy options when eating out?
Yeah, that's probably a whole other webinar topic. Maybe we need to do that next month. Healthy eating out. But just, if you're trying to follow low sodium, something I tell my patients always to do is, ask the restaurant, cook mine without salt, get dressing and sauces on the side. Try and choose places that, prepare their meals more freshly or, a lot of times it's hard to follow low sodium or low calorie if you go to, a lot of Chinese places where they cover everything in a lot of sauce and stuff like that. But so always, still trying to follow those healthy meal planning ideas of, eating the rainbow, including lots of fruits and vegetables, whether that's, including a healthy fish option on top of a salad when you're eating out, things like that. Can help you if you're still wanting to stick with eating out. But yeah, maybe Abigail or Erica will do a presentation on eating out next month.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe that's something that we can put on the list for the coming webinars. And yeah, those are great tips. Something that I personally do. Well, if you go and eat out with someone you trust and someone who is also trying to eat healthy, something that me and my husband do, it's like we always, not always, but try to ask for like a salad and then an entry for both of us. So we split the salad and the entry. So that way we eat a little bit of the food that is not the healthiest, but then also make sure that we have the veggies. Then also, like Tori is saying, restaurants are accommodating. If you say no salt, they will use a little bit less, or you can change your side and try to say, well, instead of French fries, can you add steamed broccoli, or can you change that for a side salad? And they will be accommodating depending on what you're craving. So yeah, but great idea. Maybe we'll add that for a coming webinar soon. Well, so thank you everyone for joining. Great questions. And again, if you want to review this information, ask your nurse or your dietitian to send you the link, and we will be happy to do that. And we will also add those resources for the templates and things that you can print at home and use to start planning and prepping. So thanks everyone. And yeah, we will continue to offer webinars monthly. You will receive the invitation via email, but you can always ask your nurse or your dietitian what are the coming events for these months, and we will be happy to send you the link if for whatever reason you cannot find it in your mailbox. So have a great one. Thank you for joining, and thank you, Tori. Great information. I learned a few things too, few tips.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.